Welcome back to The Point of View. It is January the 6th, 2025, time 16:16 Central Time. And it's your boy, Mike D, a.k.a. DDE8, a.k.a. 13th Wonder of the World, a.k.a. Mike DZ. Back with The Point of View. Shout out to the Point Place family. Shout out to Bobby Reezy. Shout out to M Breezy. Shout out to Naya, my sister. Thank all y'all for tuning in to The Point of View on the Podbean app. And in about 40, a little over 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, it's time for Raw is Netflix. That's it. Raw's about to debut on Netflix tonight. The first era of Monday Night Raw leaving from USA to come to Netflix. Very interesting tonight. All the people that are going to be on there tonight, legends, of course. John Cena starts his final run in WWE, his retirement tour. My boy, the final boss, aka Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is also going to be on there. We're going to see Roman Reigns versus Solo tonight in a tribal combat match. We're going to see Rhea Ripley challenge Liv Morgan for the Raw Women's title. We're going to see Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, 10 years in the making. That match tonight as well. Drew McIntyre against the Uso Man, the Yeet Man, Jey Uso. That's tonight. That's some of the matches. Surprised with a bunch of more things that are going to take place tonight on Raw. This is the first time that Raw has went to another television station, which now is a streaming network, without Vince McMahon. Without Vince McMahon's input on anything. You guys got to remember, Vince McMahon had input on when SmackDown went to Fox, but he did not have no impact on SmackDown going back to USA. He also does not have any type of impact in WWE wrestling at all right now. Everything is Triple H, Nick Khan, The Rock. Those are the three guys that are in business with the marketing and the whole everyday operations of WWE. Triple H, and of course The Rock, who's also got stock in TKO along with WWE. He's one of the guys that are in charge of WWE along with Nick Khan. But this is going to be a Vince McMahon-less era, which we already had. But now that that Raw's going to Netflix, Vince McMahon has no input or influence on Netflix, how Raw is going to be ran on Netflix. So, and you don't want to make it like Vince McMahon, but let me say this, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear the good about Vince McMahon, but I know that he is a scumbag for the things that he's done to other wrestlers and to people that have worked for him and things like that. Well, let me say this, and I want people to understand why I'm saying this about Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon has done a lot for wrestling. Vince McMahon changed wrestling from an old gritty type wrestling and made it into sports entertainment. He was the first person that said that wrestling was sports entertainment. Not fake wrestling, but sports entertainment. And I will say this also about Vince McMahon. Let me also say this about Vince McMahon. This is the good stuff about him. He's made a lot of people millions and millions of dollars. Vince McMahon has helped kids. Listen to what I'm saying. Vince McMahon has helped kids have a fantasy type thing about wrestling by helping making video games and things like that for wrestling. You know, he has done a lot of good for wrestling, but he's also done a lot of bad. And I'm just going to say that he did a lot of good, but he also did a lot of bad for wrestling. And I'm just going to say that because he made a lot of people uncomfortable in the business. He did, you know, should have marketed a lot of people better than what he did. Of course, the Bret Hart situation, he was wrong for that in my book. A lot of people think he was right, but I think he was wrong for that. Also, I think, you know, and that's just my opinion on what I think about Vince McMahon. He did a lot for the company and for WWE, and he said it, nobody's bigger than the business. And guess what? They're absolutely right, because nobody's big. Not even Vince McMahon is bigger than WWE. And it's crazy, but it's true. You know, he still have people that still rocks with him. Guys like John Cena, guys like Rock, guys like Undertaker. Those guys still rock with Vince McMahon, even though he, you know, got this other stuff going on with him and things like that. I wonder if Brock Lesnar is going to come back to the business. Triple H said last year that Brock Lesnar's been out of WWE for almost a year and a half. So I think Brock Lesnar will be back in WWE. I think he will be coming back to WWE soon. I may be wrong about it, but I doubt it. I would love to see him come back to the business to redeem himself. Things like that. Also, and then I'll get to the Netflix situation again. I'll talk about that in a minute. Also, we see this, and a lot of people are asking, well, a couple of people asked me this, why has not Brock Lesnar signed with a competition? Well, I think because he's still under contract with WWE. Because if he was not getting paid by WWE anymore, then guess what? He would have signed with AEW. But AEW would have knew, and I'll tell you this, a guy like Brock Lesnar, they would have knew what to do. AEW would have known what to do with him. He would have been on top of the food chain. Moxley would not be the champion right now. I'll tell you that right now. It would be Brock Lesnar if he was signed to AEW. And that's just my thoughts on that. And that's how I feel about that there. But Netflix is going to a whole new era. As you start seeing, if you look at the Netflix streams, you see that Raw has got a lot of things on there with Raw already, which means that Raw's probably going to be fading out of Peacock and coming to Netflix. I don't think everything is going off of Peacock just yet. The rumor was, well, it wasn't a rumor. Triple H said that that Peacock is going to hold all the pay-per-views still until next year, until March of next year, which will be the last Raw of 2026. Not last Raw, the last WrestleMania on Peacock to 2026. And then that's it, you know. And so with that being said, of course it's probably going to go to Netflix, because Netflix has got all the material now of most of the Raw material of WWE. SmackDown is going to be on USA. I think SmackDown still is going to be on Peacock. There's going to come a point where all of that is going to be on Netflix before next year, I think, because I think that's where you take your vocabulary and your library. You're paying for that stuff, so that's where it's going to be. I think Peacock is going to have that on there. I'm just, you know, and I think Netflix is going to have it after Peacock. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Raw tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I think that you're going to see a great amount of talent showcasing tonight. 3 hours, Netflix. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee will be the announcers of that. It's interesting to see. Pat McAfee will probably be on college football. He's probably going to be with WWE until August, because that's when college football is going to start back up. I do believe that, Los Angeles is going to have a great city for this. The premiere of Raw on Netflix. They're bringing out the kid and caboodle for this, guys. And this is going to be interesting because Netflix is now over a $2-3 billion streaming network that is bringing in the cash. The NFL on Christmas brought in the cash. And I will say this, although the games were blowouts, they had over, 6 billion people watching NFL on Netflix, cashing on the NBA. Well, guess what Alan Silver needs to do? They need to cash the NBA on Thanksgiving. And that's just the way I feel about that. But this is the series. When WWE made this move to go to Netflix, that is when the NFL decided to make their games on Netflix. Remember, I think Prime had the games on Thanksgiving as well as NBC and Fox. CBS, excuse me. It's interesting. Saturday night's main event still going to be on Peacock, along with NBC, because they have a pay-per-view, not a pay-per-view, it's like a pay-per-view, but they have their Saturday night's main event card coming up in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. In a few weeks, we're going to see Saturday night's main events again. I don't know who's going to fight at that Saturday night's main event, but it's going to be interesting. But it's going to lead up to that following week for the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is going to be in February this year. Because of this Netflix push of Raw, that's why they decided to bring it down to 1 month. So February the 1st will be the beginning of the Royal Rumble. Then after the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, I think it's going to be either in March. And I think WrestleMania will probably be in April this year. So I think it's April. That's going to be interesting as well to see how that comes out. And now we're in a new year. So we get to see what happens with the talent. Are you going to have big ups? And I'll say this. It would be interesting if Jey Uso won tonight against Drew McIntyre. Shock the world. Shock the people. Make these things shock. Make something big happen tonight. Like I told you all last Friday, when Tiffany Stratton needed that win to be big on a 3-hour show of SmackDown. And that was the moment that Tiffany Stratton cashed in on Nia Jax. Congratulations to Tiffany Stratton for being the SmackDown Women's Champion. Great move by them. Right call. Right situation. Everything was done right. That was the most decent thing that they could do for the company. That's why they did it. Believe me when I tell you this, I want people to understand what I'm telling you. This is why the company makes moves like this, because they want people to understand why they did it. And that's why they're doing it. It was great. It was great. It's great for business. It's a great move, a great push, a great ladder of success when you do things like that. It is what it is. Also, ladies and gentlemen, AEW had a great show last Saturday, man. Their first ever collision. Daniel Garcia beat Mark Briscoe. We also saw Private Party retain the tag team titles as well. We also saw the the Rock and Roll Express getting involved with Our Runners and, of course, FTR. It was a great thing for it to happen. Death Riders. It looks like it's going to be Adam Copeland against Jon Moxley, maybe for the world title. I don't know if you put the title on Copeland right now. I don't think Edge gets the title right now. What I think you should do is let them win the Trios tag team titles. Let them become the AEW Trios tag team champions. That means beating Pac. That means beating Claudio and beating Willa Yuta. Because Willa Yuta is in a situation with Jay White. That's going to be interesting to see. And man, I'm kind of, forgive me for a second, man. I'm looking at Netflix and they're showing this Vince McMahon storyline with him and Trish Stratus way back in 2001, where it was Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania, and the way that they did Linda McMahon, making her feel like she was a vegetable, and Trish was the other woman, and Vince was just diabolical with Trish. It was crazy. And it was a crazy storyline, man. It was disgusting to me back then. It's still disgusting today. I couldn't believe that they would do anything like that. Linda McMahon was one of the sweetest people in wrestling. She would always be the one that always come against Vince when Vince make bad decisions. So, and Stephanie and Shane as well. But, you know, like I was saying before about Adam Copeland, I think Adam Copeland will probably fight Jon Moxley. We'll see that down the line. We also saw Toni Storm beat Deonna Purrazzo. We also saw Jericho's learning tree against FTR and, of course, Copeland. Great win by those guys, by Copeland and them. It was the first time in 15 years, I think, after WrestleMania, when Chris Jericho took on Adam Copeland, a.k.a. Edge, for the World Heavyweight title, and Jericho beat him at WrestleMania that year. It was some great stuff, man, to see that happen. It was great to see Copeland versus Jericho. Some great old rivalries coming back. I think you will see a tag team run between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage soon. It's going to be interesting to see what AEW does as Ricochet turns heel. Wow. Still tripping off that. Interesting. Him and Swerve's probably going to have a program as well. It's going to be Christopher Daniels. Look like he's going to be going up against Hangman Adam Page. What a great follow-up in that storyline there. Everybody knows that Hangman Page is going to beat Christopher Daniels. But it's going to be interesting to see how wrestling is this year. Who's going to have the hottest moments? Who's going to be on fire this year? Because you got to make a plan on who are you going to make the star of the year. I think LA Knight should have a great push this year. And I'm talking about a main event push where he fights for the title on either show he's going to be. I think he should come to Raw and fight. I don't know if Cody's going to be on Raw. I think Cody's still going to be on SmackDown. Unless, and here's the big deal, unless you make Cody versus Rock at Mania, or make Cody versus Cena at Mania, then Cody's going to come to Raw. It's just that plain and simple. I think Cody's going to be on Raw. Gunther's probably going to go to SmackDown. Now, my thing is this. Who do you take over there or part of it? Drew McIntyre He is going. Now, I just thought about something. What about Drew McIntyre versus Cody at WrestleMania? That would make a great match. That would make a great match for WrestleMania if you want to do that. If I'm WWE, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about doing that because that makes the company and that makes the situation better if you do that. That's absolutely phenomenal. A great way to come out and make something happen. If you're going to do that. We know Kevin Owens is going to be probably in a match at Mania. Where does the bloodline last? End. Well, who does Roman Reigns fight at WrestleMania? Could be CM Punk and Roman Reigns at Mania. Could happen. They're not, if it's not going to be Rock versus Roman at Mania, could it be Solo and Rock at Mania? I don't know. But you're going to, this is what I think could possibly happen. I think that we are going to see Roman Reigns versus Rock, but I think we're going to see Roman Reigns versus Rock at WrestleMania next year. That's just my thought about it, because next year will be the 30th year of Rock in WWE. I think that would make Rock probably be in the Hall of Fame. I think Rock goes in the Hall of Fame either next year or because you could put John Cena in next year's Hall of Fame. But what if you put Rock and Cena in the Hall of Fame? This is just me talking. But I think within the next 2-3 years, Rock is going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's just my way of thinking, and just my way of thinking about it. I'm just out here talking about it because I want to see what's going to happen with Rock. And it's just WrestleMania. Roman and CM Punk could be the big match that everybody wants to see. Do you go back to Logan and John if Cody's going to be fighting Rock, or if Cody's going to fight John? Do you go with Logan Paul versus John Cena at Mania? I don't know. You got a lot of things to think about if I'm WWE. Could you have Braun Breaker go up against Logan Paul at WrestleMania? Big matches, man. Big matches, big things could happen. Logan Paul's back on there because Logan Paul is money. Just like Bad Bunny is money. Logan Paul is money, guys. Brock Lesnar, even though he's not around right now, he's money. He's box office. Bill Goldberg, despite how people may think about him, saying he's too old and all that, Bill Goldberg is box office money. When Bobby Lashley was in WWE, Bobby Lashley was money. And it's a shame that Triple H did not do what he was supposed to do with Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business. It's sad because Bobby could have had another run with the Street Profits. He could have led the Street Profits and himself to gold in the company. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't do it. It was very, very sad to see that happen, especially like that to great wrestlers like Bobby Lashley and MVP and guys like that. So we'll see what happens with the WrestleMania run with these guys as they get ready for WrestleMania, because WrestleMania season, you know why a lot of people want to be on WrestleMania? The money is hot. That's a hot commodity. That's the biggest pay-per-view of the year. Not disrespecting the Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble is one of the biggest as well. So that's one. Then you look at SummerSlam, the biggest pay-per-view of the summer. Got that. Just that simple. It's really big. Really hot. Hot commodities coming up, starting tonight on Netflix. You guys enjoy Netflix Raw. I'm going to enjoy it. With the help of the Lord, I got to get prepared for the other job. Guys, enjoy your night. Enjoy Raw. Enjoy basketball, college basketball, things like that. But also, you know, keep God first. Pray for me. I pray for you. Let us all be better in life with everything. God bless you. God keep you. I'm out.